Cool. All right. So we're here with Brad Abrams, and you're on Channel 9 again. You haven't been here for a little while.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I've been downloading them and watching them, but having a chance to be on for a while. So it's great to be back. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So we want to talk to you today about the PDC. Right? You're a track owner. You're a session owner. You're bigly. You're really involved in bigly. That's an interesting word.
I am bigly involved.
You're bigly involved in planning it. So let's talk about it. I mean, what are you going to talk about at the PDC? What are you excited about the PDC?
Well, I got to start. What I'm most excited about, I got to start with what I'm doing. So I got to give a plug for my own session, right? People probably know, but I'm doing an all-day pre-con the day before the PDC on designing .NET class libraries.
All right.
And kind of the thing there is that over the last couple of years, one of my jobs at Microsoft has been to ensure that the frameworks that we build, either through the .NET framework, through WinFX, are consistent, coherent, hang together, the developers are productive with it.
Okay.
So what I've done is taken some of the training material from there and put a different angle on it, put a different sort of view on it, and that's what Christoph Swalina and I are going to talk about during that pre-con. So I think that it's a lot of value for anybody that's building software, reusable components that other developers have to go use, and can get a lot of value out of it.
And you guys are basically the primary authors of the guidelines.
That's right. That's
so
right.
You're basically delivering guidelines in real context.
And in fact, just a little sneak hint here, only for your Channel 9 viewers, is that at the PDC, if all the stars continue to align, we'll actually have a book out from Addison Wesley on the design guidelines.
Fantastic.
That Christoph and I have been keeping us up very late at night the last couple of months getting that ready to go. We've been on a tight deadline to hit the PDC, but I think that'll be a big thing there.
Cool.
So that's what I'm pretty excited about. But other than that, I love the PDC because unlike some other events, the PDC shapes Microsoft's strategy, I think. I mean, it sort of forces us in big ways and small ways to come up with coherent stories, to come up with clear messages for developers. And one of the things I love about Microsoft is that there's so many smart people working all over the company on their things. But an event like the PDC forces us to come together, get in a room, and decide what the core story is. So that's happening sort of at a grand scale with the keynotes, and then it's happening at a small scale when we talk about, we have a session on deployment technologies, and we have the guy that's in charge of the MSI technology, the traditional setup technology, and the guy in charge of click once. Okay, we get these guys in a room and discuss a coherent story that we're going to tell developers.
Fantastic.
And we have that's all over the place.
Now the marketing byline for the PDC, I mean, every Microsoft event, every event by any big company needs to have a marketing byline, but I like it. It's developer powered.
That's right. That's right.
Can you talk about that a little bit? I mean, there's deepness there.
Yeah, I think of it in a lot. Developer power has a couple of different angles. One angle is, we're very intentional about who we get to speak at a session. We don't. It's not just somebody who we hand a slide deck to and go present. These are by and large, 99% of the sessions are given by the developer, the program manager, or the tester in charge of that technology, so that whatever they're talking about, they know it to a super depth. I think that's very different than any other conference you're going to go to. You're not going to hear somebody giving somebody else's deck. These are the people who created the technology, and then they're creating the message that goes with it. So it's developer powered in that we're doing it, and it's developer powered in that that's what this conference is all about. It's all about developers. You're not going to see anything for anything specifically targeted at end users or IT pros. At DBAs. I mean, all those people are great. We can't run our business without those people, but this conference is focused on developers.
Absolutely. As is our platform.
Absolutely.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I won't do my developer thing.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
Because we need to empower developers.
Yeah.
Certainly the work you guys have done on your team with the CLR
has
really, really helped that.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, the CLR, what are you going to talk about as far as what's new in the CLR for 2.0?
One of the things that I'm really excited about for the PDC, again, I always got to bring it back to what I'm doing personally, but I'm kind of helping to start up the conference with the pre-con, and then I get to hang out during the conference. At the end of the conference, the last day, we're almost close to approving a panel. So we're still in the middle of session approval. So if Steve's watching this, we haven't approved it yet, but we're going to, I think. So as soon as we get it approved, we're going to do a session on CLR futures, and I'm going to MC it, and then we're going to have your big wig CLR guys, the guy that that kind of created our garbage collector is going to be there, Patrick Dessoud. We have the guy that worked on the CLR versioning system, Jim Miller. We have our Rico Mariani, our performance guy. We're going to have these sort of...
Is Brum going to make it?
I'm still working on Brum. Right, I talked to him last week, and he had a conflict. So
understood. I mean, he's been really busy. He hasn't been blogging or anything. But
yeah, I know.
Anyway.
I'm working on him on that.
Keep it up.
But so we're going to talk a lot about where the CLR is going in the future. I mean, people have got the Whitby bits. What are we doing in Orcus? What are we doing further than that? What are these guys' big dreams? What are these kind of deep core architects? What are their big dreams for what could happen with the CLR?
Fantastic.
So I think that'll be really fun. I'm really looking forward to emceeing that.
Agreed.
But then we're doing a bunch of other talks there. We're going to do one talk that I'm pretty excited about is a add-in talk. Mm-hmm. So today, a lot of developers write applications that other people plug into. They write little modules that plug in. Like in Outlook alone, I have 3 different managed code add-ins going on in my Outlook, and I think other people for a wide variety of apps. And so we're going to be talking about kind of how to go do that at a deep technical level. What are the versioning concerns you should have? What are the protocol concerns you should have? Mm-hmm. So
very cool. But now, what about is going to be any talk the exception model?
Oh, exceptions. One talk we have, we're partnering with the Windows Vista guys,
okay.
and we're doing
you got it right.
See, I'm using the names, and we're talking about the error reporting structure that is built into Vista and how to take advantage of that in managed code. And with that, we're going to talk about some of the exception handling and how to build really reliable, robust applications in there.
Okay.
So yeah, definitely.
And how to light up Vista?
How to light up Vista? Absolutely. So
sorry, Vista. I can't.
Yeah, no, there's going to be a lot of debate about it. Another talk that I'm pretty excited about is Chris Jones, who's one of the senior VPs in the company, is going to do a breakout session on like the 10 things to light up on
wow.
Vista, and he's going to actually take a traditional Win32 app where the vast majority of code that runs on our platform is that today. Mm-hmm. He's going to show how to make that thing light up on Vista. And so it's taking advantage of the new core Win32 functionality that's available, and some of it is taking advantage of the great new managed stuff that we have.
Cool.
That's a very cool talk.
So you mentioned earlier about getting together in these groups and deciding about this vision, right, the strategy going forward for the platform.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about that process? Because it is interesting. I mean, it's
a lot of fun. There's something about the PDC that everybody, we say, hey, we're going to do a PDC in September, and a year before that, people all across the company are saying, hey, I want to talk to developers about this, I want to talk to developers about that. I mean, if you think about the core business Microsoft's in, we're in the platforms business. Even if that's Office as a platform, or Vista as a platform, or even MSN starting to be sort of more as a platform thing, we're really that platform play. And so the PDC, although a smaller conference compared to TechEd or something, is a very important conference for us, and people around the company know that. So we met, over a year ago and started to decide what the core themes would be. What are the big areas? What are the big rocks? And we selected a couple people from each one of those to sort of represent those areas. So we get somebody from the presentation space that's going to represent what we're doing with the Windows Shell, with Avalon, with
Let me guess, Chris
Media
Anderson?
Center. Yeah, Chris Anderson was actually in that discussion, and we eventually got Reed Cohen to own that. And then we looked at at the communication space, what's going on in there, what are we doing with peer-to-peer, what are we doing with file sharing, what are we doing with Indigo, and we had Don Box in the room for some of that. We eventually ended up with Ford McKinstry, a guy from the Indigo team. So anyway, and we sort of went through the data stack, the exact same mechanism, and we get roughly 3, 4, 5 people that try to rationalize this content. Kind of what are all the breakouts?
Sure.
And when we laid it out, we could do 4-week conference. If we just took them all, we do 4 weeks. And I think we should do that. One year we should just do PDC. It's a month. It's the month of PDC.
Cool.
I think it would be awesome. But the practicalities, we can't do that. So
sure.
we have to distill it down to the sessions, to their essence, to kind of what is the sort of key value that we're trying to communicate to developers. In a lot of cases, we're combining sessions so that we make prescriptive guidance for developers rather than just throwing developers out there to have to figure it out themselves.
Sure.
And in some cases, we're making some priority judgments about what's a mainstream technology and what's something that maybe only a handful of people are interested in. We could do that in a dev lab here. So
definitely.
Yeah.
Very cool. Beth, you're sitting there very quiet behind the camera. Beth's our new team member. She's our, bringing
Beth.
process
Hi.
Meet you.
Hi.
rationality to Channel 9.
Oh, excellent.
Yay.
She's
Excellent.
here, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Yeah.
Sure, I think this might be an interesting question.
Sure.
What if I'm, just 1 to 2 years into development? I mean, is PDC gonna, is that too high level for me? I mean, what is there anything for sort of somebody who's new to development or just getting into the field?
Yep.
Should they go?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, one thing we're talking about doing is sending some students to PDC. I think it's great. And the reason why it's so interesting is PDC is a forward-looking event. It's what we're looking at is the 2-year horizon, 3-year horizon, in some cases even further than that. And that's important to know for old-time developers as well as sort of newer developers, so they can decide what investments they want to make. If people are newer in the field, they get to decide, am I going to go invest in my XML skills? Is that going to be something that's going to propel me in the future? Well, come to the conference and see how much XML stuff or how much RSS stuff we're doing, or that kind of thing kind of helps provide some guidance there. And then the second is the opportunity to meet people from Microsoft, but also people from the industry. It's just amazing, just how much you can pick up and learn about software development in general, as opposed to all the technologies we're going to be plugging while you're there. We're also going to have plenty of time to sort of just sit back over a beer and just talk about, what does it mean to ship software on time? How do you go do that? How do you make sort of, how do you dev cost something? How do you decide how much that's going to be? And you're going to be at this conference that's focused on developers, and that will, you have a lot of like-minded people. So I think it's a very good conference for new people.
So if you were going to assign some homework for me before I went to PDC,
Yeah.
what would you tell me to do to get ready for it?
Well, I'd go up on MSDN and look around a little bit. We just today actually launched the MSDN Vista developer site.
Oh, cool.
And that's got some good stuff, kind of what we're doing with Longhorn. Obviously, Longhorn's going to be a big message there. If you haven't already sort of downloaded a Visual Studio 2005 beta, I'd go ahead and get beta 2. It's up there because a lot of the conference is not going to focus on that because that's shipping. It's all but shipping. But it's going to branch forward from that. Lots of stuff, what we're talking about from there. When you hear Anders Hausberg talk about the C# 3.0 stuff, if you haven't had a chance to bone up on the C# 2.0 stuff yet, it's going to be harder to keep up with them. And same thing with Paul Vick doing the VB session. So
That's going to be very
Cool. So we could have all kinds of developers there
Oh, totally.
because it's developer powered.
Everyone's welcome.
Yeah,
Right on.
that's cool.
So one other thing I wanted to mention about this is we, in the midst of doing a lot of these long lead things, we also felt that we needed to provide some content for people that they can just go and walk away and use today. Like, oh, it's great to find out what Vista's doing, but Vista's not shipping for another year after the PDC. So what can you give me that happens today? So actually, we just got out of the track owners meeting where we discussed lunch sessions. And if you're at last year's PDC, you know that we did we only did like 1, 2, 3 lunch sessions. And this year, what we're going to do is in order to provide some room to provide tips and tricks style useful content today, we're going to open that up a bit and provide some more content, some more room there. So I'm pretty excited about some of the cool stuff we're doing here. Some really pragmatic things. One that I'm sort of interested in is, how do you have a build system that scales? What if you had 100 developers working on a project? I mean, very few people do, but what if you did? What would you need to have to make that work? And we're talking about doing a performance one. So what are the tips and tricks for writing performant managed code? How do you avoid the pitfalls there? So some things that you can walk away, you can use on BS 2003, 2005 that day, the day you leave the conference. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned the PDC last year. Of course, these are PDC years, and they're 2 early.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, I am PDC years. Yeah.
And I was there, 2003, and the big thing obviously was Longhorn and the CLR and all this great stuff. There was a CLR Futures where Chris Brum was. It was the last day.
Yeah.
So just and you were involved with that one as well, very deeply. So what is your perspective on where we are today versus where we said we were going to be, or where we thought we were going to be? Because you mentioned it's where we think we're going to be.
Yeah. That's good. That's interesting. I think, just as an interesting anecdote on that, I was just this morning we were talking about refreshing the PDC poster. I don't know if people remember, but actually we did this poster. Can you pan up and get this? So we did this poster at PDC 03, and we were talking about what changes about this. Is it just the same poster, or do we kind of have a renewed vision or whatever? What's changed about it? And so I think it'll be very interesting. People should dig up the poster if they don't have it and bring it, and then they can compare it to the poster we get it, and you can see what's really happening there. But
that's cool.
But that'll be fun. But in terms of what I think changes, well, we took a lot of feedback from there. I think the biggest piece of feedback, I personally had several developers talk to me about how excited they were about Avalon and Indigo. They really wanted to use it, but it being on Longhorn only was a problem. And so we took that. It was a fairly significant problem. So we took that feedback pretty seriously, and we made some, I think, having been involved in it, some very radical changes to the product plans around those, and made that technology available down level on XP. So that's a pretty big change for us. Some other stuff, we had some plans for some technology that it won't make it in this time frame, and I don't know if other people caught it, but Jim Alton did a great job at his keynote. And when he introduced WinFX, and I was a little bit involved in that, and he made the statement that really resonated with me. He said, some of the stuff I'm talking to you about today is not going to ship. It's not going to make it in this time frame. We're coming out to you early, and when he said that, I was like, wow, because he's talking about stuff I'm working on. What's not going to make it, Jim? I don't think he knew at the time. In fact, I'm 100% positive he didn't know at the time. But the guy shipped software a lot, and so he sort of knew. It's still, I was just I have Vista installed on my machine here in the office, and just playing with it, and it's already, we're in beta 1. It's already very good OS. I mean, I have no doubt that we have plenty to talk about at this year's PC, and developers are going to get very excited about
what's available.
Vista.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just because it may or may not be managed code, I mean, if you're writing Avalon applications or sure, you're going to be writing C#. I mean, you don't have to, but it would be
or VB, of course.
Yeah,
my VB friends on the audience, yes,
absolutely. Or your C++ friends.
Yes, absolutely.
But there's been deep changes to the core operating system, and I know there's going to be talks there, deep Windows talks.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Absolutely. Another panel that I'm really excited about, the people. The technologies are interesting, but the people. So a couple of things that stand out because of the people is Raymond Chin is doing a talk on on anything, and it's going to be great. But specifically on some of the great new stuff we're doing in the base of the system, in the Win32 space.
Excellent.
And so So I think that's going to be a really amazing talk.
Absolutely.
The other one that's interesting is we're going to do, I haven't quite approved it yet, but I'm sure we will soon, and that's a talk on Windows futures. And we're going to get the guys that we have this core arch group, the core architects, 4 or 5 people from Windows.
Great.
And they're going to talk about what we're doing in that space. So that'll be very neat.
Fantastic. Maybe bringing a little bit more management, lower. We'll see.
Oh, managed code, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's a complex problem.
Yeah. I one thing I think is interesting about our platform is, we've done the work in the managed space such that I can say fairly confidently that anything we do in Win32 that the managed developers can access. And they could totally go use that stuff, and vice versa. Anything that, like Avalon, parts of Avalon are managed, anything that's there, unmanaged developers can use as well.
Okay. I'm getting a cue from, what's happening?
We're running out of batteries.
We're running out of batteries?
We're running out of batteries.
Well,
I see. Oh, I guess we wrap up, huh?
I guess so, but I'm telling you, I'm excited about it.
Yeah, PDC's going to rock this year.
And it would be nice to also maybe get into one of these meetings sometimes towards the end.
Okay.
You guys are finally fleshing things out.
Yep.
And we could just maybe sneak in.
Yeah,
give our Channel 9
you have
people
somebody
a little
with we're doing a bunch of dry runs. I'd love to have you guys come to dry runs or some slide reviews. I mean, if we get VPs that go and review the decks, the talks that we're going to give at PDC, it'd be great to have Channel 9 there looking over
Absolutely.
Jim Alchin's shoulder as he's critiquing my talk. That would be great.
Well, Channel 9 is going to be really present at the PDC. We're going to actually have Channel 9 embedded with some special guest stars as our embedded agents.
Awesome.
So
very cool.
Thanks for talking to us.
Thanks so much.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.